Okay, hi everyone. My name is Josh Confer, and on behalf of the other speakers, I just want to thank you for joining us today and welcome you all to our symposium on how cognition develops in social contexts. So while much research on young children's cognitive development has taken place in individual settings, in which children make decisions or perform various tasks on their own without social influences or other social agents involved, our symposium today tries to highlight the important ways in which being situated in a social world facilitates or impedes children's developing cognition. We have 3 talks for you today. First, I will discuss how belonging to a social group influences children's evaluation of evidence when forming and revising their beliefs. In the second talk, Marlene Meyer will discuss children's developing metacognitive abilities in a social context. In the third talk, Tricia Katz will discuss children's growing understanding of their own and others' reputations. And finally, we are fortunate to have Azura Ruggieri as our discussant, who will integrate the 3 talks and provide key discussion points for future research. Okay, so I'll get us started. Again, the title of my talk is Group Membership Biases Children's Evaluation of Evidence. And at the beginning here, I just want to thank my amazing collaborators and mentors, Hanna Schleihauf, Dorsa, Amir, and Engelmann. Okay, so from decades of research and just from everyday life, we know adults are often biased in what they believe and end up holding many inaccurate beliefs. For example, large numbers of people deeply believe that the Earth is flat, that vaccines cause autism, and that climate change is non-existent and even a hoax. Yet, interestingly, previous research has often characterized young children as little scientists who are open-minded, flexible, curious learners. Indeed, research demonstrates that already at 4 to 6 years of age, children are pretty epistemically rational in how they form beliefs. For example, they form beliefs based on the available evidence, they revise their initial beliefs if presented with additional evidence, they seek out evidence that goes against their beliefs, and search for more evidence when the evidence they have is ambiguous or inconclusive. So this body of work suggests young children have a strong motivation to hold accurate beliefs. However, it's important to note that these previous studies on children's epistemic practices have largely taken place in individual settings. Typically, children are alone with some evidence and are asked to reach a conclusion. Yet in the real world, children, like adults, often form beliefs in more social settings, in which they might know what others believe and others might know what they believe. This is important to consider as social settings can potentially create other ulterior motivations to hold beliefs beyond just a motivation to hold the most accurate ones. This seems especially true in group settings, where beliefs can often become markers of group membership, signaling to our groups that we are one of them. Indeed, possessing the same beliefs as our group can help us fit in, gain a sense of belongingness, and avoid ostracism. Therefore, it's possible that in certain social contexts, children may not act so much as little scientists, but more as little politicians who are motivated to hold socially useful beliefs. Yet to our awareness, no previous study has looked at how group membership influences children's epistemic practices. But we do know by around the time they enter preschool, children become group-minded. For example, children around this age like their in-group more than other groups. Preschoolers are concerned with their reputation, especially with in-group members. They expect group members to perform the same behaviors as the group. And importantly, in third-party contexts, children also expect group members to hold the same beliefs as the group. So this body of research indicates that from a young age, children want to belong to social groups, and they understand that part of being a group member is to hold group beliefs. What is not yet understood, however, is if children's growing concern with their group identities at this age also biases how they form beliefs themselves and how they evaluate evidence. In other words, how do children form beliefs and evaluate evidence in group settings? Does belonging to a group adjust children's standards of evidence for holding and maintaining group beliefs, or are young children's own epistemic practices resistant to these group biases? This is basically what we studied in our project. So in study 1, we looked at if group membership lowers children's standards of evidence when forming group beliefs. In other words, do children jump to conclusions to form group beliefs? And in study 2, we looked at if group membership raises children's standards of evidence when revising their beliefs. So in other words, are children more resistant to more resistant to changing their group beliefs? Okay, let's start with study 1. We tested 78 4 to 6-year-olds from around the San Francisco Bay Area. We used a two-condition between subjects design in which children were either assigned to the group condition, in which they joined one of two groups, or the no group condition in which they joined neither group. Here's the visual overview of the procedure, which I'll now delve into further. So in step 1, in the group condition, a child joined either the sun or the moon group. When a child joined a group, they were given a team hat and sticker to wear, and were told they're now part of that group. In the no group condition, a child was just introduced to the sun and the moon group. Then in step 2, children were introduced to the main game of the experiment, which was to figure out whether there was more elephants or more lions in a group of 10 boxes on a table. Children were told that either an elephant or a lion is in each one of the boxes, and again, they had to figure out whether there was more elephants or more lions in there. In step 3, children were told that earlier both the sun and the moon group played this game. Children then watched pre-recorded videos from both groups where the group said whether they thought there was more elephants or lions in the boxes. And the groups always disagreed. So one group always thought there was more elephants, the other group thought there was more lions. After children watched videos from both groups, they could then open the boxes themselves. So children could open one box at a time, and in between opening each box, there was a 30-second delay. After every box, children were asked our main DV, which was, do you know whether there's more elephants or lions in the boxes, or do you want to open another box? If children said they knew, then we asked whether they thought there's more elephants or lions in the boxes, if they didn't already say it, and then the game was finished. If children said they wanted to open another box, they waited 30 seconds and then could open the next box. And this process repeated until they either said they knew or they opened all of the boxes. And importantly, the 10 boxes were always arranged in the same order, such that the first 5 boxes supported the in-group belief for children in the group condition, or group 1's belief for children in the no-group condition. However, in total, the boxes confirmed the out-group belief, or group 2's belief, 6 boxes to 4, as you can see here. We predicted that children in the group condition would open fewer boxes than children in the no-group condition. We also predicted that children in the group condition would more often hold the incorrect belief about the boxes following what their group believed. As for our results, first I'll show the number of boxes that children opened by condition. So on the y-axis here is the number of boxes children opened, 1 through 10. Following our hypothesis, we found that children in the group condition opened significantly fewer boxes than children in the no group condition. On average, children in the group condition opened about 4 boxes, while children in the no group opened about 6 boxes, with the most frequent response being opening all 10 boxes. Therefore, it seems children who belonged to a group were more convinced and placed more weight on this initial evidence than children who didn't belong to a group. Subsequently, this affected what children believed about the boxes. So this next plot shows the proportion of children in each condition who held the correct belief about the boxes, which is what the outgroup belief, which is what the outgroup for children in the group condition believed, or group 2 for children in the no group condition believed. We found that children in the no group condition held the correct belief about the boxes roughly 60% of the time, yet children in the group condition were half as likely to do so. So in summary, children as young as 4 tested less evidence if it supported the group belief. Children were more convinced by seeing evidence in the beginning boxes if it supported what their group believed, compared to if it supported what an unaffiliated group believed. This led most children in the group condition to hold the incorrect belief about the boxes. So again, in study 1, we saw that children were more convinced by group supporting evidence. In study 2, we asked if children commit to a group belief and then see evidence that oppose this belief, are children then less convinced by this evidence? So in this study, we tested 60 4 to 6-year-olds. Again, we used a two-condition between subjects design in which children were either assigned to the group or the no group condition. The procedure was pretty similar to study 1. So children were first either joined one of 2 groups or neither group, then were introduced to the main game, which was to figure out whether there's more elephants or lions in the boxes. They then heard contrasting beliefs from both groups about the boxes, counterbalanced. This time, in step 4, children provided their initial belief about the boxes before seeing any evidence using this scale. So I hope it's visually intuitive, but basically children are told that if they're really sure there's more elephants in the boxes, they can place their marker here. If they're kind of sure there's more elephants, they can place their marker somewhere in here. If they're really sure there's more lions, they can place their marker here. If they're kind of sure there's more lions, they can place their marker somewhere in here. And if they didn't know, they can place their marker in the middle. And I just want to quickly note here that because we're specifically interested in cases where children see evidence that opposed a group belief in the group condition, we excluded 4 kids who did not initially believe their group in this step as pre-registered. Then in step 5, children were shown evidence that opposed their belief. So if a child initially believed there's more elephants, then they saw 2 lions here as pictured, or vice versa. Then in step 6, children were asked again what they thought about the boxes using this scale. And our main measure was the difference between these 2 ratings, where children initially placed their marker in step 4 and where they moved it, if at all, in step 6. So for example, if a child moved here to here, it would be counted as a difference of 5 units. Every child except for 3 moved towards the belief supported by evidence. For the 3 children who got more confident in their initial belief after seeing counter evidence, their data was coded as negative units. But again, other than these 3 kids, everyone shifted towards the other belief. So that was our main measure. We predicted that there would be a smaller difference or change in belief in the group condition compared to the no group condition. In other words, that children's belief in the group condition would be more resistant to this counter evidence than children in the no group condition. We also looked at if fewer children in the group condition revised or switched their belief to the other belief after seeing counter evidence. As for our results, before I get to the difference score, I'll first start with where children initially placed their markers, which is an indicator of how confident children were before seeing any evidence. For visual simplicity, I'll just present results on the left side of the scale, or the elephant side of the scale, but just keep in mind these are the total means for when children's initial belief was elephants or lions. Interestingly, children in both conditions were initially equally confident in their beliefs. On average, children in the no group condition were 2.6 units from the midpoint, while children in the group condition were 2.3 units from the midpoint. So in other words, before seeing any evidence, children in both conditions were equally pretty confident in their beliefs. However, after seeing 2 boxes that oppose this belief, children in the no group condition moved an average of 4.2 units towards the belief supported by evidence, while children in the group condition moved an average of 2.2 units towards the belief supported by evidence. Suggesting that children in the group condition were less convinced and placed less weight on this counter evidence than children in the no group condition. Here's another way to visually represent that with children's reduction in confidence on the x-axis. Again, we see that children in the no group condition moved towards the other belief more than children in the group condition. Next graph here is the proportion of children by condition who revised their belief or switched to the other belief after seeing counter evidence. And as you can see, children in the group condition were about half as likely to do so. So from study 2, it seems like children as young as 4 were less convinced by evidence if it opposed a group belief, compared to when it opposed a non-affiliated group's belief. This led most children in the group condition to hold on to their initial belief after being presented with counter evidence, while children that didn't belong to a group mostly switched to the other belief. So, in summary, belonging to social groups biased young children's epistemic practices by lowering their evidentiary threshold when they encountered in-group supporting evidence, and raising their evidentiary threshold when they encountered in-group opposing evidence. Therefore, although previous research has shown that children rationally form beliefs and are motivated to test evidence, if children become a part of a social group and become aware of what their group believes, they become more biased in how they form beliefs and how they evaluate evidence. This indicates that from an early age, an important feature of how we form beliefs is to align our beliefs with our groups. Okay, so before I end, I'll just leave you with a question, which is, given that children from a very early age have biases to adopt group beliefs, and these biases can often result in holding inaccurate, wrong, and potentially harmful beliefs, why do we have them in the first place? Why do otherwise rational children and adults all of a sudden become seemingly irrational in group settings? In my opinion, children and adults may adopt group beliefs for at least 2 rational reasons. First, children may adopt group beliefs because they have epistemic motivations. In other words, children may be motivated to hold group beliefs because they want to hold accurate beliefs and think their groups are reliable sources of information. because our groups often possess correct information we don't have, it can be potentially rational to have a bias to adopt group beliefs, even though this bias can sometimes lead you to hold wrong beliefs. Second, children may also adopt group beliefs because they have instrumental motivations. In other words, children may be motivated to hold group beliefs because they can be beneficial to hold, as possessing certain beliefs can help us fit in with our groups and avoid ostracism. And so because beliefs can serve as social signals, it can be in our rational self-interest to hold group beliefs, as it can strengthen our affiliation with our groups. In the future, I hope to tease apart these different mechanisms behind why children form the beliefs they do, including how children may rationally balance these motivations in various contexts. With that, thank you so much. Thank you. And I think we have a few minutes, 4 minutes for Q&A.
So thanks for the talk. I have a clarification question. In the first study, were there children that opened all the boxes and still held incorrect beliefs in group and no group condition? How many were these?
Yeah, I think, so for children who opened all of the boxes and so all the evidence, I don't think we had a single child who held the incorrect belief. So if they opened all of the boxes, they adopted the correct belief following the evidence.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. It's a fascinating demonstration of an old saying in traditional social psychology about groupthink. That's why I'm asking this question. And a lot of studies on adult groupthink showed that these group phenomena are extremely detrimental and negative when the groups are isolated, like the big think tanks during the Bay of Pig invasion and so on. So would you consider trying to have studies on children where the different groups, the sun and the moon groups, would be able to interact between sessions or so on? You see, that would be an interesting sort of modifying issue which brings it nearer to real life.
So in the case that you were told that the sun and the moon group communicated about the games that they played and how that maybe changed your evaluation of evidence? Yeah, interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I think in that case, children would be maybe more neutral in how they evaluate evidence, as it wouldn't be so clear that the different groups hold different beliefs. So maybe that would kind of cancel some of the group biases that we show. Okay, with that, I think we can now move on to our next talk by Marlene Meyer, who will discuss children's developing understanding or developing metacognitive ability in a social context.